Captain Marvel and Wednesday Addams, two paragons of feminism for today's Hollywood, with a mystery aspect for both. Carol trying to figure out her past while Wednesday tries to figure out her future. Neither one caring what others think of them, but who did it better? Let's start with something neither character themselves had any control over: hype. It's no secret that Captain Marvel came out between Infinity War and Endgame, a time when anyone even remotely invested in the story would go to see anything the studio pumped out with high expectations. So it's no wonder why Captain Marvel didn't live up to the hype, being a less than stellar character in a less than stellar movie. Expectations definitely dragged her down, a thing Wednesday didn't have to deal with. So we'll drop a pity points for Captain Marvel. Now, first impressions are everything, and in entertainment even more so. The first scene for any character is a defining moment, showing off where they start as a character. In Captain Marvel's first scene, she wakes up Jude Law and asks him to fight, giving off a smile when she agrees. At the end of that fight, she loses his and decides to one-up the man in a fit of rage, sending a ray blast to throw him around. Of course, she shows off her true colors, quick to anger, and how much she thrives off of conflicts, both of which are strengthened throughout the movie. Whether that's her stealing a motorcycle from a rude guy, how she instigates fighting on the train to find the old lady, blasting the Supreme Intelligence away with her power, running off on her own in the midst of a battle, or just blasting Jude Law any chance she gets. While this isn't a terrible place to start off at, just look at Thor, she's the exact same by the end of her story. Wednesday's first scene shows off something similar. She heads into a closed water polo class to drop piranhas into the water, finding quite a bit of joy in the act as she torments her so-called classmates. She enjoys conflict as well, but the difference, while Carol instigated the fight by herself to satiate some inner desire, Wednesday initiated this because her younger brother was being bullied by these same kids. Throughout the series, no matter what kind of stupid, irresponsible, and dangerous things she does, we already know that somewhere beneath that stone-cold exterior is someone that cares. Just don't mention it to her. So for first scenes, that goes to Wednesday. Throughout her journey, Wednesday Addams goes from a cold, unfeeling monster to a cold, unfeeling monster that accepts hugs, sometimes. We see her break out of her shell in small ways, whether that being with things help, Enid's constant joyfulness, or Eugene's reminder of her brother. Unlike with Carol and Fury, two people who tend to complement each other, Wednesday is surrounded by people who tend to push her out of her comfort zone. Enid being a perfect positive opposite to Wednesday's dark raven cloud. Meanwhile, Carol Danvers is over here running all over the place, trying to figure out her past and who she is, and it turns out that who she is exactly who she is now. And while learning to accept yourself isn't a bad story to tell, Captain Marvel didn't do it the correct way. You need a lot more antagonizing to make such a thing work. Carol, in her entire movie, gets captured twice. Once at the beginning to kickstart the movie, and once near the end by the Kree. All other issues are rendered nothing thanks to her power. She always has to be the best. And while Wednesday herself follows this same idea to some extent, showing Bianca up in the boat race, beating up the three troublemakers, she doesn't always win. And when she does, she often relies on others. Getting killed by a psychic, the Hyde comes out to save her. Beating Bianca in the boat race, well, she has a whole team behind her, along with Thing. Trying to figure out what the monster is, her uncle comes in to help out. Captain Marvel can simply do everything she needs when she needs to do it. The journey and growth of character, Wednesday as well. Does Captain Marvel actually fail? I mean, she's captured twice in her movie, right? Only to break out in the next scene and completely destroy the enemies that captured her in the first place. In her first attempt to escape, she had her hands in some kind of suppression tube so she couldn't use her extraordinary powers. In the second, she just throws off her shackles and gets right back into beating up the Kree. Even Nick Fury is relegated to a glorified key, getting her into the Pegasus base and beating up a few straggling Kree. Does he do anything else of note in this movie, other than being a person for witty back and forth banner? Well, the only other struggle she goes through is finding out who she is, and, well, we already talked about that. Wednesday, in the meantime, almost died twice, got expelled from school, has Principal Weems breathing down her neck, has court-ordered therapy, loses a fencing session to Bianca, watches her pet scorpion die, and... That's just in the first episode. She's constantly on the back foot in her investigations, and as smart and competent as she is, she still fails a lot. Most of the time, her winnings winds up creating an even bigger problem that she or someone around her needs to solve, which causes her to grow as a character, even while staying true to her little black heart. Well, since Carol doesn't really seem to have any, I guess Wednesday wraps it up with the three-peat.
Can you believe it?
So, of course, it comes as no surprise that Wednesday Addams wins this bout. But how do we fix Carol Danvers? Well, perhaps that's an idea for another video.